Hey, welcome to First Fill Whisky. I am again here at DramFest talking to distillers and people that I don't normally get to talk to. Today is probably my favorite day of the 3 days that I'm going to be streaming. I'm going to be talking to Kilchoman. You might remember Kilchoman Springbank being my Whisky of the Year. So we're talking about the guy who's in charge of it all, started it all, and we're going to talk to him very soon. I think there's a lot of people talking to different distillers, and he should be here soon, hopefully. And then Springbank straight after that. So if you have any questions for Springbank or Kilchoman, get it in the comments right now so then I can get your question and ask them directly. So right here, I don't actually have a dram yet, but yeah, it's been really interesting here at DramFest. I've met some really fascinating people. I just talked to Thompson, which is a New Zealand distillery. We talked about Manuka smoke and all that sort of thing. And yeah, it's been really great. Can everyone hear the audio? So before I get my guests on again, because yesterday this camera turned off. I don't know why. I'm really sorry about that. Thanks everyone for notifying me about that. Today I think I have a backup. I shouldn't cut out because we can go directly to the dram cam and I'll set up audio, so there shouldn't be a problem now. I don't know why that camera just turned off. So we do have the dram cam again. Hopefully they'll bring some interesting drams, a bit echoey. So let's just turn down that. Is that a little bit better? Is that a bit better for you? Yeah, so it's going to be, audio is a bit low. Thank you. Let's get this all sorted before. How's that? Is that a little bit better? The audio? How's that? Prostity is in. Thanks for being in and joining us. Macca is in as well, a local to me in Pakatane, and Simone is in again. Much better? Great. Perfect. So yeah, tell me a little bit about what are some of the whiskies that maybe you're going for at the, like, if you were to have any whiskey from Kilchoman or Springbank, what are the whiskies you would choose? I'd love to hear which ones would be your favorites. For me personally, it is that Kilchoman Springbank. It's such a good go-to. It's just, and it's a good price too. I'm not sure where. I'm sure they'll be with us very shortly. And yes, the Kilchoman Springbank cask strength. So we talked about this in my Hunting London video. I'm really keen to try that too. I wonder if I like it as much. I'm sure I will. I mean, it's just turned up to the full. And then also really keen to try the there's a Springbank 18 actually here at DramFest and a whole bunch of Springbanks. So I'm definitely hoping to try a lot more of those soon. But first we'll talk to Springbank. For those of you who don't know about Springbank, they've won Distillery of the Year from the Online Scotch Whisky Awards. So why have they won that? Well, I think a big part is they kind of do things almost like it's not big marketing campaigns. It's very simple. They put stickers on the bottles themselves, and they do everything old-fashioned way. Like they kind of, they do a direct fire pot still, so it's not like using a coil. It's all direct fired. They have a bunch of different expressions. There's Springbank. There's the long row, which is the peated expression, and then there is the one where it's like sort of 2.5 distillation, where they mix in sort of part double distilled and a part triple distilled. And so yeah, are we hoping the guest will be on very soon, so do hang around. Yeah, what's your favorite? What's everyone doing? How you been? It's good to be at DramFest again. Tim said looks good. Fantastic. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting chat. I really want to talk to... It's kind of two different distillers, right? Springbank being older and been around for a much longer time. And then we've got Kilchoman, which is relatively a new distillery. So they have started things more recently and stuff. Just trying to see if it's there. Should be coming on soon. But yeah, Kilchoman, I wouldn't even say they're a new distillery now. It's kind of like with Ardnamurchan, like, you know, they were the first new distillery on Isla in like 100 years or something. But these days there's a heaps of other new distilleries now on Isla. And so what's really interesting about them is they came in that new wave of distillers, Aaron, you know, Kilchoman, Ardnamurchan, and then I think there's almost like this third wave of new distillers which have just opened up in the last 5 years. And so I'd almost say Kilchoman's kind of come to maturity. They just released a 16-year-old last year, which is kind of crazy that it's got to that point. Postdiddy said, for the price of a Springbank in Oz, I haven't got my hands on any yet. Yeah, hoping you can actually get some in Australia. For me, I really want to get that Kilchoman cask strength. There have been some Springbanks here that have been reasonable, but you have to go into a bullet because a lot of people want to get the Springbank. So this is when I need an assistant. If anyone is actually here at DramFest right now or watching this, go see if Anthony Willis is around. He did say he was going to pop on, so I'm sure he's a million people want to talk to him. Yeah. Hey, Phil, absolutely loved visiting Springbank November last year. The staff were fantastic. The whiskey was sensational. The hand fills are a great feature. Yeah, I mean, see, that's the thing. I've been to Isla, I've been to Speyside. I really think Campbelltown is next. If I was going back to Scotland on a whiskey trip, I couldn't fit it in last year. If I'm going back, I'm going to Campbelltown. And there's a new distillery opening up there called Witchburn, if you don't know about it. That's be starting soon, releasing whiskey soon. But really, it's just kind of the three distilleries too. You've got Springbank, Kilchoman, which is kind of a sister distillery, and then you've got Glen Scotia. I'm a big fan of Glen Scotia. Hey, how are you? Come on in. Yeah. So, yeah. Come on up. Come on up. We've just got live. Hop on up. He's here. Nobody leave the stream. He is actually here, the real man. Here we go.
Go live.
Here he is.
Let's go live.
We're live. We'll do it live. Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
Very good. Nice to see you.
So I'm just going to... I need to have like a... This way with a big pointing thing, don't I?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I'm just going to give you this mic.
Oh, yes.
It's a magnet, so it goes on the inside. Just put the magnet on the inside and then make sure we can hear you over the bagpipe.
Where's that go?
On the inside. And you clip it to there. That's it.
Well, no one came to get me. We just did this all on our own.
Yeah, I need. This is when I need an assistant.
Now you two can bugger off. Oh, thank you so much. You're bloody marvellous.
So yeah, so for everyone, yeah, this is Anthony Willis. I've talked a lot about Kilchoman on my channel. I've just been talking to you about it. Back 2 years ago, every year a lot of YouTubers have a whiskey of the year.
Yeah.
My whiskey of the year was the Kilchoman Snag.
Yeah. Very good.
Fantastic, smoky, that nice sherry influence. With all that dried fruit coming through with that nice smoke, 46% unchill filter, natural color. And actually, I often talk about, like I love Lagavulin 16, but it's almost become my new kind of sherry profiled smoky whiskey of Isla for me personally. And it's been absolutely fantastic. But anyway, good to have you here.
Yep, it's great to be here.
Tell me a bit about, so the crazy thing about Kilchoman I find is, there's heaps of new distilleries, there's heaps of new distilleries here at DramFest. But when you started Kilchoman, there hadn't been a new distillery in Isla for
124 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a bit crazy, and people probably thought I was a bit crazy to even contemplate starting a new distillery when there were 7 working distilleries at the time on Isla, and over 100 in Scotland. So there wasn't really an appetite for new distilleries. There didn't appear to be, but you know, I came from a different angle, which was that I was an independent bottler. I was bottling single casks under the name of the distillery, and you could see the interest and groundswell of consumers really wanting to try different whiskies and at cask strength and limited and single cask. So it gave me an idea to, you know, I'll start a new distillery. And, you know, to be honest, I didn't really look at the financial side as much as I probably should have done. If I had, I'd probably run away and not done it. But I think I felt there was a market out there. And it was a question of just trying to get to that market by raising enough money. And yeah, that's the issue with any new distillery, is the financial side of it.
I was talking to Dave Room yesterday, and we were talking about if you wanted to start a business and make lots of money, and like distilling is so tough because, you know, a lot of people, their first whiskies, even a 3-year-old, you're waiting 3 years before you can sell your first product. But you guys almost take it a step further. It's not only are you distilling, aging whiskey, but it even comes, the barley is even part of it. Like you're dealing with farmers on Isla and stuff. So tell me a bit about that in the background.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing for me was we had to have a point of difference, uniqueness. There's no point in being like all the other big distillers on Isla, because what's the point? You didn't really sort of resonate with people. So it was, you know, and we came up with the idea of being a farm distillery, taking it back to its original roots, how distilling started in Scotland all those years ago, growing a bit of the barley on the farm. So we only grow the barley for the distillery on the farm where we're sited. So that was the uniqueness we had, and really sort of talking about being a farm distillery. And I think that's unique, or was unique, at the time that we started Kilchoman.
Yeah, and that's what's... Yeah, and is it a unique barley strain, or is it different from the normal one, or is it...
You know, we use the same sort of varietals as the commercial malting companies buy from farmers, and that's about just because it works. And that changes over time, and some of the varietals run out of steam and a new one comes in to replace it. So since we started, probably 5 or 6 different varietals have been used, and they do play a part in the character of the spirit, especially at that end. But then, of course, it goes into a cask, and then it all narrows down. So we talk about a bit about different varietals that we use, and how a difference that will give to the spirit. And that's just for educational, rather than saying that it's going to make such a big difference to the actual whiskey that you drink, because the cask has the biggest influence on the character of the whiskey that you'll enjoy. Yeah.
And so what's next for Kilchoman then? Like, I saw the cask strength. Is it?
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it's in New Zealand yet.
The Sanay cask strength is now hit New Zealand. Yeah, no, it's
here. Great. I have to go have a look.
It's on our stand.
Simone was just asking about that. She was
I think we released it worldwide in October, November time, 2024, and it's been a huge success, because I think Sanay in general at 46% has captured people's imagination. All that spicy richness is there, and at a relatively young age, people have really taken to it.
Yeah.
And then cask strength is how you should drink whiskey, really. I mean, because we're not diluting anything, we're not taking anything out of. It's just with a bit of coarse filtration straight from the cask. And you know, if you taste them alongside each other, you notice the difference. You just get a much more hard-hitting style, and then you reduce it with water to your own individual taste. So you're in charge of how you drink it, really.
And why? So with your expressions, is anything? Are you going to? You got these great hero whiskies. Is this what you're going to continue doing? What's next for Kilchoman?
I think, you know, we're delighted with the actual sort of take up with Kilchoman and around the world, and what we've been doing. And I think we're not going to change a lot at the moment. We have now 3 core expressions. We have Maccabee and Sanay, and we now have a batch strength, and that's about moving to the next level in terms of having a cask strength that's regularly available on the market. So that's happened late last year. And I think for us, it's about just building on the success we've had by introducing these core expressions at a relatively sensible price to the marketplace. That builds momentum and builds the brand. And then behind that, obviously, these limited edition releases, which are older and have a little uniqueness about them. And that is really where we're going. And single casks are a very major part of our range, because we want to keep enthusiasts and connoisseurs and people that know and read and talk about whiskey a lot interested, and then the core range really introduces people to Kilchoman as a first step.
And that's what I really like, and what a lot of sort of the first fill fam talk about, is that just that you're getting lots of flavour and good value too, and it's available most places, which is why it's a great recommendation for me. So it's one of those ones that's become my perma shelf whiskies. Why did you choose whiskey? Like, why have you always been into whiskey? What happened? When you first were like, you know, why not rum, or why not something? What was it about whiskey that sort of drew you in and wanted to make?
Well, I was in the wine
it?
trade. So I've been in the drinks industry all my career. So 15, 16 years in the wine trade, representing mainly French chateau and growers and negotiants from France in the UK market. And then my wife and I decided, when our kids were pretty young, to move to Scotland. Her father had recently lost her mother, and it was about maybe moving to Scotland because we enjoyed Scotland a huge amount. We spent holidays there, and then I transferred into the whiskey industry because they're quite close in terms of knowing people within the UK industries. So I just moved, transferred into the whiskey industry, and I don't regret it in the slightest, because the whiskey industry in Scotland is very friendly. Maybe the big companies are a bit more aloof and do their own thing, but now there are so many more independent companies distilling, independent bottlers and so forth, who, you know, you only have to walk around the show over the weekend and see how many independent distillers are here, and we all see each other a lot and go out for drinks and we have good banter. So it's a great industry to be involved in, and you know, I think timing is everything in this world, and we were fortunate that when we started Kilchoman, there was a real groundswell of interest in single malt and premium single malt. So, you know, when we released our 3-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey at a similar price to 10-year-old, you know, if it hadn't been right timing wise, consumers would have been put off and not really been interested. But because consumers were starting to be more educated, there was a lot more information on social media, you know, they grasped it, and we've been very fortunate that people enjoyed what we were producing. And
I do find, especially with a peated profile, I often I'm leaning to often the younger ones, because often, say it's middle winter and I want something a little bit bites and a little bit the smoke and stuff, and I often find sometimes I don't want to. I still really like the older ones and as well, but sometimes at a younger age compared to an unpeated spirit, I'm often going towards it's like the wee beastie with their 5-year-old, the Lagavulin with the 8-year-old. It's often like that sort of spice, you know, it's almost like the Tabasco of kind of, I
think Islay single malt tends to be better drunk relatively young, you know, and you don't see a lot of Islay single malts at a very old age. So anything over 20 years is rare to pick up and find. And that's a lot to do with, you know, wanting to maintain that sort of smoky, salty, briny character. And as it matures in cask, it's going to lose that intensity and have more of the cask influence coming through. So at a relatively young age, you get all that vibrancy and youthfulness. And the peat and smoke is right there at different stages, and different distilleries have a more of an impact and a different character coming through, which is also very interesting for the consumer.
Do you think there's so you're from the wine trade, do you think has there been any complementary skills that have helped you as someone who's running a distillery?
I think it helps that, you know, being tasting a lot of wines when I was in the wine trade, you transfer that sort of skill into any you know, gin, rum, tequila, whatever it is. So you know, having that skill set helps, and certainly I was fortunate to have Dr. Jim Swan, who consulted for us and taught me a huge amount about tasting and nosing and tweaking things to make things work more readily. And so, you know, he was a great mentor for me that helped me hugely. And now I really do it all myself with the help of my production manager, who also is getting to know how to put together whiskies.
Yeah. He seems like quite a legend. For those who don't know about Jim Swan, he kind of helped with a lot of these distilleries. I was at Cotswolds in November last year, and Rob there was telling me about, you know, how we helped innovate the SDR casks and all the things that has really helped Cotswolds and that sort of thing.
I think there's no doubt that he was the most experienced person that understood the science behind distilling rather than just sort of a distillery manager who'd been working at a distillery for a number of years. He understood what made a good whiskey and how to put together a new distillery to produce a style of spirit that suited that distillery and the makeup of the distillery. So, you know, he's been a huge influence on a lot of distillers around the world.
Now, I have been asking people, obviously you've got Kilchoman always on the shelf, but for you personally at home, is there any bottles on the shelf when it gets to the bottom, you think, oh, I should probably get another bottle?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think everyone asks me what my favourite. Well, I'm never going to say that's my favourite, but
yeah,
I think everybody knows that I'm hugely respectful of ex-bourbon barrel maturation because I believe there's no hiding place in that. Longer maturation, and still you get all the smoky, peaty style of whiskey coming through. Whereas with sherry, you can get a masking of the distillate character.
Yeah.
So, you know, as it ages, it changes character hugely. And the older Kilchomans matured in bourbon tend to have this sort of honey sweetness, which is fantastic. So, you know, I love the 100% Islay, which is light and fresh and fruity, not that heavily. It was very lightly peated.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the Loch Gorm is a superb dram, which is 100% matured in Olorosa sherry butt. So, you know, I'm fortunate that I'm working with these whiskies every day and all day, and you get to know what works and what doesn't. Yeah.
Where do you see the industry at the moment and what's ahead? Like, what's the kind of...
I think we've come to a crossroads. You know, the last 15, 20 years have seen this massive expansion of not only the established distilleries in production, but also new distilleries around, not only in Scotland, Ireland, England, but around the world. And I think it's unsustainable that this can continue. You know, you only have to talk to distributors, retailers, online salespeople that you know this saturation point has been reached. And you know, you can get whiskey in every corner of the world now.
You can.
And fortunately for Scotch, we sort of have this premium status as, you know, the whiskey. Now, that's not to say we are, but it tends to have been out there and been supplied to people for so many years. And every whiskey has its own story to tell, but I think that there's going to be contraction in the industry generally, and we can't keep on growing the way we have. I think we feel fortunate that we started when we did in 2005, and maybe the newer distilleries, it's a harder task to get their brand out around the world as we did, because we didn't do anything special. It's just that the consumer was ready to embrace what we were doing, and there were very few new distilleries at that point. Now there is a huge number of all trying to fight for the space on the shelf, and it's becoming more challenging.
Yeah. Have you been able to try any other sort of world whiskies? Has any kind of stood out to you that you like surprising or interesting?
Well, I think you know, there are a lot of you know, the Danish single malts, you know, and I think in Canada they're doing a great job. And here in New Zealand, you know, there's some great whiskies being made. I think everyone should go for their own unique style in some ways, but I think that's always difficult with, if you've got 5 or 6 distilleries in New Zealand, they all want to be slightly different. But I think trying to copy Scotch or Irish is wrong, because you should really sort of branch out and do your own thing, and not be sort of tied too much to it has to be like Scotch. Well, you know, forget that and do your own thing in a way. I think, but you know, I always find drinking other countries' whiskies of great interest, and to see what they're up to. So, you know, since I've been coming to New Zealand since 2007, every 2 years.
Amazing.
And I missed the 2023 show, and I was here last year in 2020. Well, since 2020, I mean, God knows how many distilleries have started in New Zealand, but it's a number. I mean, 5, 6, 7. I mean,
and some big ones too.
And some big ones. So, you know, it's great. And really, I would urge them, just say, look, concentrate on your own domestic market, see how that goes, and then branch out from that. Because I think it's wrong to think you can just export your whiskey from New Zealand, which doesn't have a traditional heritage of making whiskey. It did in the old days, I know that. But I mean, to really sort of cut through and make a mark. And at some point it will happen, I'm sure.
Yeah, it will be interesting, especially seeing what the New Zealand vineyards did from the 1970s and how eventually they came through. And I feel like New Zealand whiskey's kind of
Yeah, it's
sort of 20 years
starting that
behind.
journey.
Yeah.
And wine is hugely more competitive than whiskey, but whiskey is starting to become this mass-produced product from around the world, and everybody should do their own thing. Like here, Sauvignon is staggeringly good and very popular, and has made its mark all around the world.
Yeah.
And now their whiskey needs to have that mark as well. And regulation in each country should be there, and the regulation in each country should try and make sure that people keep to the same sort of style of whiskey, I think, but I know that that's not going to happen.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of I was telling you before that there's a few people they like to call themselves the Snake Gang. We've got one here, Drummond. He's a huge fan of your dram. We've got Nick Keane. He's a Kiwi. He's Cow Strength Snake Gang. So he must have been able to. Did you get hold of the bottle, Nick? Have you? And Z-Man's saying he's been enjoying the Pocono. So anyway, I'm going to leave you on your way. You've got lots of people to talk to. It's really exciting. It's been great to meet you, and I feel so lucky that you've come all the way to New Zealand and I can meet you right here.
Great.
And
It's been a pleasure to join you.
Yeah.
Thank
and hopefully, I'll see you again soon.
Yeah.
I really want to get over to Isla, do a proper sort of vlog and meet the distillers and stuff. So maybe I'll see you then at some point. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, nice
great
to see you.
Thank
Thanks
you,
very much
Anthony.
indeed.
It was great to meet you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Tell David on the way. Do you want to go down the stairs? You right? Cool. Thank you.
From online
Oh yes, we're live. Yeah, I want to talk to you soon though. Oh, fantastic! Is David there? Yeah. I'm ready for him. Grab him.
Oh shit! Where did that go?
So David, I did it fall down. That's right. It's going to clip. I'll find it. I'll get him to clip it. Huh?
Dave, come on. They're on.
You're ready. If you got questions for Springbank, now's the time. Get it in the comments. Here he is. I'll have some whiskey.
This is live, is it?
It is live.
Oh, right. Okay.
We're ready.
Thanks for the heads up.
Great to.
I can't think of
Thanks,
a comeback that doesn't involve swearing or offence. Because we're live, I'll refrain.
I feel like in that way, us Kiwis and Scots are alike. Yeah. Anyway, great to have you. Great to have you here. Nice to meet you. This side of the planet.
Yeah.
I'll just give you this mic. The mag's fallen off. Let me just put that on for you. If you just tell me what your favourite animal is.
Favourite animal?
Yeah.
Has to be a dog, I think.
A dog. Dogs are pretty great. Everyone hear that all right? Audio sound good to you? Yeah, great. So, how has it been? Why are you here in DramFest? How is it?
Why are we
Is
here
this
in
your first time?
DramFest?
Or?
No, I'm now a certified veteran. Not quite Anthony Wills level. I think this is my sixth time here.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I turned 40 a couple of days ago. My family assumed that I'd stay in Scotland to celebrate my 40th with them. I said, yeah, we'll celebrate when I get back from DramFest, because it's such a great country, great people, and this show especially is one of the best whiskey shows in the world from an exhibitor point of view, and that's down to the way that DramFest, the Whiskey Galore team, manage everything and set up so well. It's run like a military operation, but still retains that sort of relaxed New Zealand vibe that sort of resonates so well with us Scots.
Yeah. I feel like there is a lot of. I felt when I was over in Edinburgh in November. I was like, I could live here because everyone's just so nice. It was like
every time I come to New Zealand, I say that with every colleague that's here with me, like, we should just stay here. It's going to emigrate. It's so good, especially the South Island.
Yeah. Oh yeah, mate. Yeah, you can see where they shot Lord of the Rings here.
Yeah.
So what's your role at Springbank? Tell people what.
So I think my official title is Director of Sales and Marketing, and to look after the sort of sales side of things. Which I get some people, before anybody comments, is maybe an ironic job title in present situation. And maybe over the last few years, we've become more of brand guardians, I guess, trying to make sure that the people who want to drink Springbank is getting access to it, and trying to keep it out of the hands of sort of flippers and these sorts of people, and making sure that it's our fair pricing policy and philosophy is sort of adhered to in our supply chain as best as possible. So,
and I do like that you're out there doing that, because I mean, you could easily just go, oh well, we'll sell it straight at $2,000 or whatever, because I mean, and people probably buy it, and you having this sort of thing, like in New Zealand, often it's a bullet, and it's actually the problem about how successful Springbank is for enthusiasts. It's not even your fault. It's just because everyone likes it so much. It's such an interesting, and I know you know, the only thing I can compare it to is, you know, Pappy's with bourbon and the US is kind of in a similar way, but
yeah, I mean, it's we didn't make enough whiskey 10, 15, 20 years ago.
True.
Today's, and
you didn't know what it was
that's
gonna be
the
like.
gist of it. You know, we can't just increase production today.
No, you
to have
can't.
That whiskey
Can't turn the tap on.
tomorrow. So, and you know, we're not going to sort of take away all our age statements and come out with a non-age thing. Where, as long as we're making enough money to cover our wages, and you know, put up a new warehouse every so often, and you know, do a bit of maintenance, but we're happy. You know, we employ 110 people now in Campbelltown, which for a small distillery that only produces 260,000 litres last year, and Kilchoman about 90. It's not a lot of whiskey, but the way we make our whiskey, you'll be aware, it's very hands-on, labour-intensive, and not the most efficient way of doing things, but we're okay with that. We're okay.
And I think, I mean, there's a lot of new distillers doing sort of less efficient things these days, but you know, like, you guys have always done things in almost a very inefficient way, flavour first, which was quite unique, you know, especially 20 years ago, where it was all about efficiency as much as possible. So why does Springbank do that? Like, why?
I mean, the reason we do anything at Springbank now, in terms of making our whiskey, is because the generation did that before us. And then the generation before them did it this way. And nobody wants to be the distillery manager that changes the production to be more efficient or anything like that. So we're simply doing what the previous generation did. And that's it. And we're not going to change that. You know, we're not going to cut or expand middle cuts or shorten fermentation times. We're just going to do what the previous generation done. It's worked out well for us.
Yeah. And some of you might not realize this. So, you know, most distilleries, they will they'll buy their barley, they'll put it through the still, in the second still, you know, age it in the casks. Maybe it's in a warehouse somewhere off. But you guys kind of go beyond that, right? Like, you're doing stuff that a lot of, you know, these days a lot of things are automated. Can you tell me a little bit about those other little things? 'Cause don't you put stickers on the bottles, and isn't there like, and use direct fired? Like, what are those little things that Springbanks do that actually might not be as common in other sort of big commercial?
Yeah, well, I guess in terms of the, you know, first of all, we produce 3 single malts by 3 different production processes. You've got your Hazelburn, which is triple distilled, non-peated. Springbank, which is the foundation of the distillery and what we've built our business on, 2.5 times distilled, light and peated, and then Long Row, double distilled and more heavily peated. So that in itself is quite unusual. And then even just looking at Springbank, this 2.5 times distillation is a very sort of strange distillation technique, and essentially some of the spirit ends up having been distilled twice and some of it's distilled 3 times, sort of in a nutshell. And the obvious question is, why do we do that? And the honest answer is, we're not quite sure. But and again, it's
just people started doing it a while ago, and you're like, well, it tastes great.
And then nobody wants to do something that might change the character of Springbank. It could even be a better whiskey if we did it 2 times or 3 times. So we don't want to take that chance. So, and we're quite happy, and the people who, more importantly, people who drink Springbank are quite happy with its profile, its characteristics that we get from the 2.5 times distillation.
Yeah, we got Kirby saying here, they're enjoying some Springbank 10 and Kilchoman 12 this evening. It's hard for me to choose between the two. I like them so much, even though they're very different. So some of you might not know, it's the same company, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the Springbank Distillery and Glengyle Distillery, which produces Kilchoman, are essentially side by side, and we produce at Springbank for 9 months of the year, and now and then at Glengyle for 3 months of the year producing Kilchoman. So yeah, it's a funny sort of relationship, and Kilchoman was originally founded back in 1872, or Glengyle Distillery 1872. Closed down in 1925, and it was actually founded by one of the brothers who was running Springbank at the time. The two brothers had a family argument, and I think it was William left and set up Glengyle. And Mr. Wright, our chairman, our late chairman, who died 18 months ago now, it was his great-great-grandfather who founded Springbank, and therefore great-great-uncle who founded Glengyle. In terms of millennium, he thought it'd be quite nice to bring the distillery back into family ownership as it came up for sale when it was next door to Springbank, maybe use it for storage purposes or whatever. But at the same time, the Scotch Whisky Association were looking at the regional status of Campbelltown, and at that time we only had 2 distilleries, and we were going to remove that status. But by resurrecting Glengyle in 2004, it brought the total number of distilleries up to 3 and safeguarded our status as a whisky region. So it's a very small distillery, Glengyle, but very significant.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? The Campbelltown region almost wasn't a thing for a while. We've got Anthony said. Zedman said, "Tell David that more distilleries should follow the Springbank model. You do it so well." An odd question from Australia: is there anywhere you can buy Springbank posters or wall art they can put on a home bar? You probably have to go to the distillery, right?
Yeah, we don't have too much of that stuff.
There's no poster of just your face or something?
Maybe for the dartboard.
On a t-shirt?
My colleague Cameron McGeachy, who does my job up for Cadenheads, he actually has a group of guys in Belgium who have put his picture on a t-shirt, and I'm not sure what I would do in that situation. I don't think I'd handle it too well.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's possibly something we could look at doing more of, and having it available on our website. You might not be able to buy our whiskey, but maybe you can buy some posters and wall art. So that's a good suggestion.
Anthony said, are there plans to bring to market an age-stated Campbelltown lock? So first of all, tell us what Campbelltown lock is, and then do you think?
Yeah, so Campbelltown lock is a blended malt which is sort of produced and bottled by us at the distillery. It comprises all 5 single malts that are produced in Campbelltown, so Springbank, Halesburn, Longrow, Kilchoman and Glen Scotia. So it's a blended malt, so there's no grain in there. And it differs from the original Campbelltown lock, which was a blend with grain. But this is a true representation of Campbelltown. And there's not really any plans to do an age statement, Campbelltown lock. But who knows?
Yeah. For those with Springbank as well, I'm sure you guys all know about it, but you've done very well in the online Scotch Whisky Awards. In fact, you got a trifecta. You ran it 3 years, and it was really cool on Roy's stream. I think I popped on at one point as well, and to have your whole team there, that was awesome. You know, it's like, actually, because sometimes you think, oh yeah, there's the whiskey, and then you're like, oh yeah, there's all these people behind making the whiskey.
Yeah, I think, and it seems unfair if it's someone like me who accepts an award, because I'm just the guy that maybe presents it at a taste or something, but all the hard work that goes into it in the background, our tour guides, the bar staff, hospitality staff, there's a huge team, the bottling team, there's so many people that are involved to not just make the whiskey, but that whole experience when people come to visit us, which is so important. So yeah, to be able to put them in front of the camera so people see exactly that. There's a whole body of people, a whole team behind it. It's important.
And it really holds a lot of, and even say on like Reddit where it just kind of is enthusiasts and stuff. I mean, that's often the awards that I often see talked about the most from maybe not on LinkedIn or something and that sort of thing, but like at places like Reddit or Discord, the online Scotch Whisky Awards. So to take something where it's the community and these drinkers who are voting on it, I think such a massive thing, and it says so much, like how well you've done just with the drinkers, like the people watching this. It's been really good. So yeah, what do you think of the current state of sort of whiskey, where it's going? Like, what do you think? I mean, you guys have kind of done the same thing. I imagine you're not going to change anything. You're on a great path at the moment. So, but do you have any thoughts on whiskey and like overall, like anything surprising that you think's happening at the moment?
I'm aware in the wider whiskey industry, there's some headwinds, and which, the whiskey industry has always been cyclical like that. So we had a pretty good upward curve, and now we've sort of reached that, and people are cutting production, and unfortunately with that will be some job losses and things like that. But I think the industry, the Scotch whisky in particular, is such a great product, and we have great people working for distilleries out representing us, that we will kind of weather the storm pretty well. I'm quite confident in that. And maybe it will recalibrate some parts of the industry in terms of pricing, and taking away some of these flippers and things like that, and make things a bit
true, but
as
sensible.
a bit more sensible.
Two more questions. First one being, often people talk about, and I did this sort of flavour tree from all the people I talked to about whiskey, and a lot of, just wait for the big loud mic. We're live here at the festival, guys. A lot of people talk about, when I talk about Springbank, is that there's this heavy, oily side. Some people even call it a funk. Some people, it has this kind of almost industrial note. What do you think it is about how Springbank is made that has given it that sort of unique, heavier kind of style with some of your expressions?
Yeah, I guess that sort of character. Campbelltown whiskey was known to be sort of big, robust and complex. I think Springbank is very much that. There's a lot of flavours in there, the oiliness, even the sort of a salinity. And for a lot of people who maybe are just new into whiskey, if they try a Springbank, they can be a bit, I don't know, intimidated is maybe not the right phrase, but it's maybe not quite for them. And that's actually why our production manager, Frank McCarty, many years ago, introduced Hazelburn into the lineup, because he wanted to introduce a lighter style of Campbelltown whiskey, and that's where he came up to triple distilled, non-peated Hazelburn.
It's kind of a common journey when I talk to people. It's like they start off with, they're drinking, and I mean, I still drink lots of cocktails. You sort of drink cocktails with whiskey, some Jameson, dry and lime. Then they get into your Glenlivets, your Glenmorangies, and then you go into Isla, then you try the sherry bombs. But I often find a lot of people, when you're sort of 10 years in down their whiskey journey, they land on like the Springbanks, the Campbelltowns. If you ask them what distillery is their favourite, it's often where they end up, because they want that heavy, and like it's just got all this complexity to it, and there's so much in one. You can have one sip and it's long, the finish is long, and it just goes and goes, and it's quite unique. And I think our younger whiskies especially showcase those qualities very, very well. The longer the whiskey spends in cask, it becomes maybe more nuanced, a bit more delicate, and our whiskies, I think, are best for me and my preferences when they're sort of young, big and vibrant. I think things like the Springbank 10, Kilchoman 12, Kilchoman 8-year-old cask strength do that very well. There was, I guess we're kind of touching this. Z-Man said, can David tell us about Long Row 100 and future Hazelburn plans? So Long Row 100 Proof is our new sort of addition to the family, I guess, in the Long Row lineup, where traditionally we've had a Long Row non-age statement, a Long Row Red, Long Row 18. Very sadly, the Long Row 18 is not going to be continued. We just don't have the older stocks to continue that, which is unfortunate. Our production history has been sort of patchy over the years, and it's catching up with us in some of these older expressions. So we're bringing out the Long Row 100 Proof as the Long Row Red sort of comes to its sort of natural end, but the Long Row 100 Proof, the sort of backbone of the cask use will be red wine cask. We've still got lots of Long Row in red wine cask, so we want to use that at the same time having a sort of higher ABV whiskey in the lineup. So we'll have the Long Row non-age statement and Long Row 100 Proof. Long Row 100 Proof will be released once a year. And the sort of make up the cask will be sort of slightly different every year, but predominantly red wine. So that's quite exciting. And the other part of that question was Hazelburn. Hazelburn will continue with a Hazelburn 10-year-old and a Sherrywood we do every year.
the Hazelburn 10 has been absent from the market for a while because, again, we just didn't have the stocks there to maintain that. We were using older whiskey to maintain the 10-year-old. We sort of reached that sort of tipping point where we didn't have anything else. We've had a year's sort of hiatus, but that will come back around later on this year. And yeah, we'll be doing Hazelwood Sherry Woods as well later on this year.
So, final question, and I'll let you go. A lot of people want to talk to you and talk about all things geeky Springbank. So for those of you who haven't been to DramFest, do come along next time. You'll get to meet people like David. But for you at home personally, so you as just a whiskey drinker, what is some of the whiskies, I'm not saying best whiskey, just something on the shelf when it runs out, you want to replace it? Doesn't have to be Springbank. Is there other whiskies, distilleries, or something you think, oh yeah, I should get another bottle of that? Anything you like, just personally?
I mean, my whiskies at home pretty much are all Springbank.
And got a credible access, yeah.
Because we have such, between the two distilleries and the 3 single malts at Springbank, we've got quite a versatile range.
That's true.
And the special wood types we've done over the years. So
yeah.
There's always more than enough there to keep me occupied, to be honest.
Yeah, true. Oh, well, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thanks for coming on. It's been great to chat. Might catch you around again soon, but
come over to the stand for a dram.
I'd love to. I'd love to try. What's anything special? Yeah, you got
the
today.
The Springbank 18 has been very well received. This particular edition is 100% bourbon, which actually, on a completely different note, people asking about future releases and 100 proofs. It's our plan later on this year to release a Springbank 5-year-old 100 proof to the range, introduce it.
Yeah.
And that will be fully matured in bourbon casks, because our current core range is generally bourbon and sherry, or just sherry. Sometimes you'll have the 18-year-old where a batch can change, but generally it's a mixture of bourbon and sherry. But we don't have anything that's consistently bourbon. So the 5-year-old 100 proof will do that. It'll be in a reasonable volume, so the aim is that it might be on the shelf and stay on the shelf, so people who want to try our whiskies will be able to walk into a bottle shop and buy a bottle of it and taste a good Springbank at that younger, sort of vibrant age, at a good ABV and the bourbon cask.
Yeah, so I imagine it'd be very spirit forward, and almost you really get the character of Springbank.
Yeah, so even it might feel like it's slightly more smokier than a 10-year-old, but those phenols haven't yet broken down as much as they do as the casks age the whiskey, so there's just a lot going on there. I can't wait for it to be released and share it with everyone.
I can't wait. I'm gonna have
my favourite cask type for Springbank is bourbon, so I'm a big proponent of this one.
Yeah, how interesting. I'm gonna have to try a dram, and hopefully I can snag a bottle at the shop. Was it released yet?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It'll be much later on this year.
I'll have to talk to Whisky Galore and see if I. Anyway, good to have you on.
I'm not even sure I've told them about it yet. Actually,
right. Oh, you get an exclusive. You get an exclusive from Springbank right now. Brilliant. Great to have you on, and I better let you go and talk to all these Kiwis with strange accents, asking you all sorts of weird questions.
Excellent. Thanks again for your time.
No, thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
I'll see you later. Do you want to? You're good down next to it. Better, just pop it on here. Looks like a clip. Yeah, great.
Thanks, Dad.
Cheers, mate. See ya. How good talking to both of those people. What great interviews. What a pleasure to talk to them, and I'm so glad. Thanks for all your questions. If you have any questions tomorrow, I'm going to be talking to Raasay, and we're trying to arrange one more distiller. I'm not sure who the other one will be. Might be a mystery distiller, but let me know any questions ahead of time if you've got anything you want to hear. But thanks everyone for joining, and make sure I'm going to go off, have a dram, and talk to people and stuff. So there's going to be like a little vlog as well that's going to be coming out. But appreciate your Anthony James said such lovely people, and I couldn't agree more. And I think that's what I love about especially the Scots just in general, like just so chilled, laid back and everything. But I hope you're all well. The speaker's coming on, so see you later. Share and enjoy. Beauty.
If you have a ticket for that event, please make it.